Hi, good morning and welcome to the Traffic Report segment in the AM Cafe, coming to you from the studios of IETV. My name is Folashade Ogurinde. This morning we're taking traffic situation report along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. Helping us with this report this morning is Route Commander Florence Okwe of the FRSC, Ogun State Command. I believe she's on the line now. Good morning. Good morning, Route Commander Florence Okwe. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Please quickly take us through the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. What exactly is the traffic situation there now?
The traffic situation on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway this morning, inward Lagos, from Togate Ibadan to Onigari, the traffic is free. Onigari Alapako free flow. Alapako Fidowo is also free. Sagamo Interchange, the traffic is free. Kara RCCD, the traffic is also free. Mowe is free. FCC Ibafo, and there's slow movement of vehicles due to the narrow lane at the diversion point. Then MFN in Makapuru, the traffic is free. Upbeat down to Beka, free flow of vehicular movement. Then the other section of the expressway, that's vehicle going out of Lagos, Beka Upbeat, the traffic is free. Makapuru MFN, free flow. Ibafo is free. Mowe RCCG to interchange is also free. Fidewo is free. Alapako Onigari down to Togate Ibadan, free flow of vehicular movement. There is no crash and no obstruction in the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway this morning.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is free and commuters can easily move around that route this morning.
The traffic on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is free. Just outside the narrow lane at the diversion point at the Ibafo where the data are carrying out the road rehabilitation. Other sections remain free.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Okay, let's head now to the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. What exactly is the traffic situation on that route?
The traffic situation on Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway this morning, area where we are witnessing slow movement. We have a slow movement at Iyanonubu to Wode. We have slow movement at Iyanesele also. A slow movement at Papa, Iweko Lafarge. Then Alakoko also, we are witnessing slow movement there. While other sections of the road remain free, there no obstruction and no crash for this expressway. FRC advise motorists to drive cautiously, consider other road users, and also use their seatbelt whenever they are behind the wheel. Avoid driving against route violation, driving against traffic. Avoid dangerous driving. Driving under the influence of alcohol is not good. Also, so they should also consider other road users concentrate whenever they are driving. That's avoid the use of phone. Call FRSC toll-free number 122 to report any crash or obstruction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Route Commander Florence Okwe, for that detailed explanation to the traffic situation report on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. Thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, please do not forget the instructions given by Route Commander Florence Okwe. Try as much as possible to follow safety precautions on the road in order to ensure your safety. Okay, let's head now to newspaper review. Don't go anywhere. We'll join you shortly. Hi, good morning and welcome to the newspaper review segment in the AM Cafe, coming to you from the studios of IETV. My name is Folashade Ogurinde. This morning we'll be taking a review of the front pages of the national dailies, and these are top stories making the front page of our national dailies. I'll be reviewing the National Tribune, the Guardian newspaper, the Punch newspaper, the Nation, and of course the Punch newspaper. I have in the studio with me this morning my colleague Faith. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you too this morning?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Well, my name is Faith Agbetuya. It's a bright Tuesday morning in the city of Lagos, and this morning we have different stories. We have making the front page of the headline of different papers, the ministerial nominees list of President Muhammadu Buhari, and so many other interesting stories. I'll start off the papers this morning with a review of the Vanguard newspaper. On the Vanguard newspaper, I have ministerial nominees, new faces at Senate pledges stiff screening. We have 3 riders to that story. Begins screening today, says no more bow and go for ex-lawmakers. Buhari rejects 18 ex-ministers, retains 14. 7 states have 2 slots each. And another rider here, jubilation in Kwara, Akwa Ibom over Mohammed Saraki Akpabio. Stories on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Still on that paper, I have Osinbajo, Tinubu, Oshoba, others eulogize Jakonde's virtues at 90. That story is on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Reps to Buhari and El-Rufai don't release El-Zakzaki on court orders. Shiites continue protests in Abuja. That's on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Just yesterday, we had reports of the rep being in 2 sides. We have some sides of the House of Representatives saying release El-Zakzaki, and some others are saying don't release him according to the court orders. But then the nays had it yesterday that the presidency should not release El-Zakzaki according to court orders. Reasons for that decision is yet to be known, and Nigerians are actually waiting that something will be done to put a stop to different bloody protests of the Shiite group members. Now the Shiite protest continues in Abuja and some other cities of the country. That story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Still on that paper, have an economic growth remains weak at 2.11% in Q2 of 2019. Now the second quarter of the year 2019 is recording a weakness in Nigeria's growth of economy at 2.11%. That's coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the story is on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Still on that paper, have military investigating stolen 600 million naira operations fund. That's coming from the Defense Headquarters, and it's on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. I won't return to Nigeria to days of exporting jobs. That's on page 9, and it's coming from President Buhari. He says he won't return Nigeria to days of exporting jobs. If you want to see what that is about, you can flip onto page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. FGA will collaborate with Southwest Monarchs to tackle insecurity, and it's coming from Osinbajo, and it's on page 38 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now that the Vice President is coming to say that the federal government will collaborate with monarchs in the southwestern parts of the country, that tells us that he's probably been attentive to different calls by first-class Obas in the Yoruba land recently. We had the Alafni of Oyo and the Oni of Ife, and so many other kings have called on the federal government to take a look at the security issues in the country to avoid or not to push them into finding solutions to these things by themselves. You have that story on page 38 of the Vanguard newspaper. Still on that paper, I have pictures of some newly elected ministers. We have pictures of Lai Mohammed, who was formerly a minister and was returned, Festus Keyamo, Rotimi Amechi, Raji Fashola, Gbemi Saraki, Godswill Akpabio, Olorunimbe Mamora, and Sunday Diary. We have also Pauline Tallen. All of this on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Now away from the Vanguard newspaper, let's see what the Guardian is reporting on its front page this morning.
According to the Guardian this morning, Senate gets Buhari's cabinet nominees without portfolios, with the riders Akpabio, Keyamo, Amechi, Sirika, Arigbashola, others make list. It's uninspiring waste of time, says the PDP. Yakasia flays inclusion of fantastically corrupt persons. And finally, to that story, Enugu APC rejects Onyema as Kwara Ondo Governor's praise nominations. That story is on the front page and continued on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Above the masthead, the story says the Guardian police to hold National Security Summit. That story is on the front page and continued on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on to other stories, on page 3, a story says Boris Johnson is United Kingdom's new Prime Minister. That was announced yesterday. On page 4, international flights diverted as Air Peace plane makes emergency landing. If you're curious to know what exactly happened to that Air Peace plane yesterday, you can look through on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. A special report says universities where students lack access to health centers, diagnosis and drugs. That story is on page 36 and page 37 of the Guardian newspaper. With regards to the Shiite story, it's continuing by saying Shiite protest rages as reps oppose El-Zazaki's release. The rider says lawmakers raise committee to end attacks. Group orders caution against IMN's prescription. Sect denies killing police chief and journalist. That story is on the front page and continued on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's move on now to The Nation.
On The Nation this morning we have Aregbesola, Fashola, and others on ministerial list, and you have that story on pages 2, 3 and 6 of The Nation newspaper. We have a writer to that story, Alasho Adura Mamora, Mohammed Bemi Saraki, Adebayo Dare, listed as ministers. We have different reactions trailing the new ministerial list of President Muhammadu Buhari. And a lot of Nigerians are saying, why was this person returned? Why was this person not on the list? And all of that, Nigerians are really making a lot of reactions to the new list. We have more stories on The Nation newspaper. Buhari warns Shiites as 2 more die, and it's on page 8 of The Nation newspaper. And again, we have a news yesterday of the speaker or a representative of the Shiite members saying they are not responsible for the killings of the deputy police person that was killed and the channel's reporter guy that was killed the day before. And then you have a lot of all of this coming, and he even said that when they go out for these protests that they don't hold arms, they don't hold weapons. And then Nigerians are wondering how come some of their protests are always bloody. But then Buhari has warned the Shiites as 2 more persons die. We have that story on page 8. Other stories here, panel to review Amoson's contract on page 10 of The Nation newspaper. Boris Johnson is British Prime Minister on page 47 of The Nation newspaper. NNPC secures $3.15 billion for OML 13. That's on page 7 of The Nation newspaper. And CBN to impose forex restriction on milk on page 41 of that paper. And no plan to quit now, says Osimhen, on page 47 of The Nation newspaper. Still on The Nation, passengers injured as Air Peace plane loses tire on page 9 of The Nation newspaper. Now we have some pictures here on that paper. Pictures of cheers as Alhaji Jakonde, the first civilian governor of Lagos State, celebrates his 90th birthday yesterday. Another picture of the belly of the aircraft after hard landing at the Lagos airport yesterday. You have all of that on the front page of The Nation newspaper. We'll move on now to review of the Punch newspaper.
All right, the Punch newspaper with the story, ministerial list, nominees incompetent, lack fresh ideas. PDP, ASU, TMG, Akpabio, Saraki, Silva, Keyamo, Mamora, Akume make list. Kachiku, Dambazwa, Adewale, Shitu, 13 others dropped. Buhari picks Imo lawmaker who dumped APC. That story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Beside the masthead, the story says Boris Johnson takes over as British Prime Minister today. That story is on page 3. 2019 elections, US imposes visa restrictions on culpable Nigerians. That story is on page 15 of the Punch newspaper. 3-scale CBN screening gets new banking licenses. That story is on page 30 of the Punch. Moving on, police go after Ondo headsmen vigilantes. OPC talks tough with the rider. Federal government plans area surveillance of southwest forests. That story is on page 3 and page 9 of the Punch newspaper. We have a picture here of Director General National Youth Service Corps Brigadier General Shuaibu Ibrahim with an injured corps member Aliyu Sulaiman on Tuesday. Also a sad picture here, the remains of corps member Mr. Precious Owolabi, who was killed on Monday during the Shiite protest on Monday. Quite sad, I must say. But let's move on now to other stories making the front page of the Punch newspaper. Don't test our will to act, Buhari warns Shiites. That story can be found on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. Other stories here: 3 dyers container falls off truck in Ogun. That story is on page 4. Kwara revokes Charlotte bought by Saraki. That story is on page 10. Soldiers murder. Troops invade Bayelsa community. Raise houses. That story is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Other stories here: we made Jakonde serve under Abacha, says Oshoba. That story is on page 3. 8 construction workers die in Enugu underground water tank. That story is on page 4. And finally, on the front page of the Punch, Mobile's $1.8 billion underpayment. Presidential panel summons NNPC boss. That story is on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. But that's all we can take today. Unfortunately, time is not by our side. But do join us tomorrow for more review of the national dailies. My name is Folashade Ogurinde. And
I'm Faith Agbetuya, returning you now to our studio in Ibadan for the next segment of AM Cafe. Good morning.